Great to have you along for the ride. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Glad to have this man back. He's the president, the founder of the Article 3 Project. It is Mike Davis. Mike, how are you? Good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Trump's falling asleep. He's farting in court. He's cognitively not there. This is my Twitter feed today. This is what I'm getting. Rachel Maddow goes on for a minute and a half, 2 minutes about how he's an angry, small, deteriorating man. Mike, do they think this is going to work as we watch Joe Biden out there talking about Uncle Bozy?
What's amazing about this criminal trial that they're running against Trump this week, this Democrat lawfare and election interference, is this is their worst case out of the four criminal indictments. This one is so bad that even the New York Times and the Washington Post many months ago said that this was essentially a dog of a criminal case.
Right.
And now that this is the one case that's going to get to trial before the election, it's amazing how the New York Times and the Washington Post and all these left-wing pundits have changed their tune, and they pretend like this is a legitimate criminal prosecution, and it's not. We've talked about this for a long time. We had Matthew Colangelo from the Biden Justice Department, the number 3, get deployed as a senior political appointee, get deployed to this Soros-funded Manhattan DA's office to resurrect this zombie case against Trump. The prior Manhattan DA, Cy Vance, the Manhattan U.S. Attorney, the Federal Election Commission, and Alvin Bragg himself declined to prosecute because it's such a bogus theory. Essentially, they're saying that Trump booked legal expenses wrong in his books back in 2017, and what would be at best time-barred bookkeeping misdemeanors have somehow transformed into these 34 felony indictments under a bogus campaign finance theory. This is nonsense. This is obvious Democrat lawfare and election interference. They've got their rigged jury where this Democrat judge, Juan Merchan, this Manhattan judge who donated to Biden in 2020 and donated to another anti-Trump cause, and his adult daughter, Lauren Merchan, is a top Democrat operative who's raised $100 million off of her father's unprecedented criminal trial of a former president who happens to be the leading presidential candidate. You have this judge asking these jurors whether they follow Trump on social media, but that he doesn't ask whether they follow Biden. You already have this jury pool that it's 87% against Trump. There's no chance in hell Trump's going to get a fair trial.
All right, it is Mike Davis. Go to article3project.org, article3project.org. Let's spell it out for what it is legally. This case would be a misdemeanor case, but the statute of limitations ended. So somehow, and maybe you can explain legally how he did this, Alvin Bragg, and as you said, the guy who turned down prosecuting this case when the statute wasn't up, he somehow has made it from a misdemeanor to a felony. He's dropped 60% of the felonies in New York City down to misdemeanors. Somehow he made Trump's misdemeanor a felony, and then he's somehow tying it to federal elections laws, even though the FEC itself said there was no case here. Mike, legally speaking, forget that it's Trump, forget that it's Bragg. What exactly is he alleging legally is the charge? I don't get it.
I think legally we call this BS.
Okay.
And it's because Matthew Colangelo, again, got deployed from the Biden Justice Department, a senior political appointee, the number 3, to resurrect this zombie case. Matthew Colangelo is a longtime Democrat operative who worked in the Obama Justice Department for the Civil Rights Division for Tom Perez, who headed the Civil Rights Division. And then Matthew Colangelo went to work for Tom Perez when he was the labor secretary for Obama. And then when Tom Perez went to be Obama's DNC chairman, Matthew Colangelo went to the Obama White House to be a labor relations guy.
Wow.
And then Matthew Colangelo went to some BS made-up job in the New York Attorney General's office, essentially the Deputy Attorney General for DEI or social justice or whatever nonsense title they gave him. He investigated Trump the entire time he was in the AG's office. And then he went to the Biden Justice Department. He was on the parachute team going into the Biden Justice Department. He was the acting number 3. The acting associate attorney general, a huge job that oversees the entire civil side of the Justice Department, including civil rights, civil tax, antitrust, Office of Justice programs, a whole litany of jobs. But then he left that very prestigious job. He ended up being the number 2 to the number 3 when Vanita Gupta, this left-wing radical, got confirmed by the Senate. And then he left that job to go to Bragg's office to essentially wage this lawfare and election interference against Trump. It is a completely bogus case based upon a bogus legal theory that will not be upheld on appeal, but all they care about this Soros-funded Manhattan DA, Alvin Bragg, Matthew Colangelo, Judge Merchan, all they care about is getting Trump convicted of a felony before November 5th, 2024, because they think that will change the election.
And again, easily this would be overturned if it goes to appeal.
Yes, there's no question it would be overturned because there are so many issues with this. It's a bogus legal theory that, again, prior Manhattan DA, U.S. Attorney, Federal Election Commission, Bragg himself declined to prosecute. It's beyond the statute of limitations. These misdemeanors are time barred. Even if they are felonies, they use COVID to extend the felony statute of limitations to get Trump. This is part of the Democrats' lawfare and election interference campaigns on many different fronts. 4 criminal indictments for non-crimes, civil fraud for non-fraud, civil defamation for Jean Carroll being a nut job. Trying to and when
you
all
might
that,
get sued, Mike. You can't call her a nut job. I don't think that could be defamation. I'm not sure.
Well, sue me, Gene. She named her cat Vagina. That's all we need to know about Jean Carroll. And then when the Democrats' lawfare and election interference backfired, they just wanted to take Trump off the ballot. They just wanted to, in the name of saving democracy, They wanted to just remove him, disqualify him from the ballot, and they got reversed 9-0 by the Supreme Court.
And they're still trying that, by the way. They're trying to get the majority in the House, and if they do, Jamie Raskin has already put forth a bill that says because of insurrection, he can't be on the ballot. And that's something they really want to do. The House of Representatives needs to wake up and be wary of that. It's Mike Davis. Go to article3project.org. Mike, just to finish up on that case, the star witnesses are Michael Cohen, the known liar, and Stormy Stephanie, whatever her real name is, this adult film actress person. Those are the two, and she, by the way, wrote a letter saying nothing happened wrong here. So those are the 2 star witnesses that they're going to convict this guy on?
Remember, these were the same clowns who, it was the Michael Avenatti and those clowns that bursted onto the scene during the Kavanaugh confirmation.
Right.
When they brought 6 allegations against Kavanaugh, 6 bogus allegations against Kavanaugh, but they had Michael Avenatti and Julie Swetnick bring the worst allegations of them all, and it undermined the rest of their lawfare against Kavanaugh, and it helped us win the Kavanaugh confirmation and win control of the Supreme Court. The same thing's going to happen here. The American people are tuning in. They're waking up to the facts that Biden and his White House counsel's office, his Justice Department, are colluding with these Democrat prosecutors across the country, and they are bringing this lawfare and election interference. And they want to, at the same time that Hamas terrorists are terrorizing, threatening violence, and actually perpetuating violence against Jewish Americans in New York, including on Columbia's campus, those are being ignored while Alvin Bragg has the entire Manhattan DA's office diverted to wage this lawfare against Trump. This is obviously going to backfire with the American people, as we've been predicting for the last nearly 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Mike Davis, article3project.org. I'll get into Columbia in a second, but I want to ask you about the whole situation with Alvin Bragg saying there was no case, Colangelo saying there was no case. All of a sudden they bring a case. Fannie Willis, obviously not equipped to bring a case, she brings a case and probably announced it. I think she announced it before the grand jury even voted. So is it your belief, speculative, I mean, we don't have any actual evidence, but if you're going to speculate about it, is it your belief that Alvin Bragg got a call from somebody at the DOJ, that Fannie Willis got a call from somebody at the DOJ? We know that Jack Smith is doing what the DOJ is telling him to do. That's clear to me. But what about the other 2? Are they getting calls from Washington?
Well, it's not speculation. There actually is evidence. You had Nathan Wade, who is the Fulton County DA, Fannie Willis's dumb, unqualified boyfriend, who actually billed his time, 16 hours of his time at $250 an hour for his meetings with the Biden White House, including the Biden White House counsel, about this case, because he billed his time. And then that was before the indictment. So he obviously colluded with the Biden White House, including the Biden White House counsel, before they brought that indictment. And then with Jonathan Sue, the deputy White House counsel to Biden, waived President Trump's claim of executive privilege on behalf of Biden, which led to the illegal, unnecessary, unlawful raid on Trump for presidential records. He's allowed to have that. Led to 2 of Jack Smith's indictments. And Jay Bratt, who is Jack Smith's counselor, is very involved on the Mar-a-Lago case. And then we have Matthew Colangelo getting deployed from the number 3 office in the Biden Justice Department to Alvin Bragg's office. So that shows that Biden's fingerprints are directly on all four of these unprecedented criminal prosecutions against his leading presidential rival.
Well, then the Fani Willis case directly, why does that still exist? I mean, we now know, because this idiot billed his time at the White House, we now know that already they had this relationship that was a full-on relationship before she gave him $700,000 or whatever it was. Why does this case still exist? Why is that not gone?
Because the Fulton County judge, Scott McAfee or whatever his name is, the Governor Kemp appointee, he wimped out. He caved to the political pressure. He's facing retention in Fulton County, Georgia, an overwhelmingly Democrat district, and he may have the machine down there save him because he didn't disqualify Fani Willis in her office from this case, which he absolutely must have done under Georgia law, because Fani Willis had an absolute conflict of interest. She had an illegal financial stake in a criminal prosecution,
right,
which is illegal. It's unethical. You can't continue as the prosecutor. But this young, inexperienced, scared judge blinked to the political pressure.
It's unbelievable to me what we're watching, but hopefully people will keep on listening to you and getting the real information from you, because at the end of the day, all of these counts are ridiculous. All of this is lawfare. All of this is to stop him from going and campaigning. But thankfully, his numbers keep going up the more they do this to him. It is Mike Davis, founder and president, Article 3 Project. Let's talk about Columbia. I've read the First Amendment, read it again just a little while ago. It says we have the right to peaceably assemble, given by God, can't be taken away by the government. Doesn't say anything about loudly, noisily, banging drums, screaming and yelling, blocking entrance for people based on their religion or ethnicity. And it certainly doesn't say you're allowed to claim that you are in fact Hamas, which is a terrorist organization. So, Mike, why isn't everybody in the paddy wagon?
That's a very good question, and you certainly don't have the First Amendment right to go on a private campus like Columbia University, which is a private school.
But Columbia's allowing it.
It is because the president of Columbia University is allowing this anti-Semitic threats and even violence to spread all over that campus. And they are destroying that college campus. They're making it where Jewish students and Jewish faculty do not feel safe on that campus. They're being threatened. Their lives are being threatened. They're being attacked. And the Biden Justice Department's Civil Rights Division should be investigating right now. The FBI should be investigating right now. The Biden Department of Education should be investigating right now. Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York, should send in the National Guard to protect those Jewish professors and students and staff on that campus. New York Attorney General Tish James should use New York law to end this. And so should Manhattan DA, the Soros-funded Manhattan DA, Alvin Bragg. But guess what? They are too diverted against Trump and other political opponents, and they're too beholden to their BLM and Antifa and Hamas trash base that dominates the Democrat Party. These Democrats, including Biden, are so scared that their Hamas-supporting base, these terrorists who should be thrown out of our country, are going to not show up in Michigan on November 5th, 2024. And so Biden is putting his electoral chances in Michigan above the lives and safety and well-being of Jewish Americans.
Well, what's the legalese of it, though, Mike? I know the Patriot Act came in. You and I are very unhappy that a lot of it didn't sunset yet. FISA should go away. But having said that, I thought the Patriot Act was put in place to stop terrorism. If you are at a college campus here in the United States of America and you say, we are Hamas, you're admitting that you're a terrorist organization here. I would think those laws should probably take precedent and you can go in and get them. In Dearborn, Michigan, if you're sitting there and you're screaming death to America, you're saying I'm a terrorist. Look, when people tried to sign up with ISIS, we arrested them. So why is this okay to say you're Hamas or that death to America?
There are so many different laws that this is violating. Hamas is a designated terrorist organization. If you provide material support to Hamas, you should have your student visas revoked. If you're an American citizen and you're a Hamas supporter and you show that support within 5 years after you've been naturalized, you can be denaturalized for that, because the showing support for Hamas within 5 years of your citizenship is prima facie evidence that you were a Hamas supporter before you became a citizen, and therefore you lied on your citizenship application. Separate from those laws, you have Title VI of the Civil Rights Act that would cut off funding for Columbia and any of these other universities that create such a dangerous, violent, hostile environment for any person of faith, particularly these American Jews who are facing this. You have general assault statutes that you can charge. You have battery statutes you can charge. There are so many different ways that if these Democrat prosecutors, if the Biden Justice Department, the Biden Education Department, New York Attorney General Tish James's office, Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg's office, Governor Hochul's office in New York, if they wanted to stop this, they could immediately. If they can hunt down every grandma who trespassed and took selfies on January 6th, there's no reason that they can't stop this real violence and these real threats against Jewish Americans on these college campuses, really all over, but particularly on these college campuses. They let outsiders, this Columbia president let outsiders into their facility, their private property, and they're setting up camps to terrorize Jewish Americans. That is unacceptable. This is beyond free speech when you are threatening violence and actually perpetrating violence and you're supporting a terrorist organization. You don't have the First Amendment right to do any of that.
Mike, I appreciate you clarifying all of that because people keep on going, well, we have the right to protest. There literally is there's no right to protest in the Constitution. You can peaceably assemble, you can bring redress, you can let people know how you feel, but you can't do this. And you certainly can. This would be, I think, in 1936, 100,000 Nazis just stormed down the street in New York saying, we're going to kill all the Jews and Heil Hitler. That would not be allowed. That's illegal. And at some point we have to wake up in this country and realize that they'll use the Constitution to their support, and they'll ignore it when people like Trump are being, faced with lawfare. Just give me a final word, if you don't mind, on the lack of enforcement when it's one side and the full-on enforcement when it's the other side.
These are Republican tactics by these Democrat prosecutors and these Democrat judges and these Democrat witnesses and these Democrat jurors and these Democrat hellholes like New York, D.C., and Atlanta. This is how the Roman Republic fell. It was the lawfare by the Roman Senate insiders against Caesar that caused him to feel desperate, and he thought his only resort was crossing the Rubicon from Gaul into Rome and led to the Civil War and the fall of the Roman Republic. I'm not saying we're going into a civil war, but this lawfare is going to lead to a legal tit for tat going forward that's going to destroy our presidency and it's going to destroy our country.
Go and support everything he does. Article3project.org, article3project.org. It's Mike Davis. Mike, thanks a million.
Thank you.
All right, brother. We're back after this. Stay right here.